It's just after the. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another meeting of the Los Angeles City Council. Today is the 11th of October, 2006, and we are here in City Council chambers just after 10 o'clock here in room 340 of City Hall. It's John Ferraro Council Chambers. These meetings are open to members of the public to come and to give general public comment here for any of the items that have been agendized for public comment, and you can always access our agendas by showing up here or by accessing them online 72 hours in advance or later. That is at www.lacity.org. We are broadcast live each council meeting on Channel 35, which is LA City View, your city's channel, which is also throughout the city on the cable systems of Los Angeles. We also are available online, and you can catch live webcasts of our council meetings at www.lacity.org, our city's homepage, where there's also a wealth of information about our city departments, our city services, elected officials, and other information that is vital to your quality of life here in Los Angeles. Lastly, if you're not close to a computer or a television, you can always call in on Council Phone, which is a telephone service that allows you to listen to the proceedings of the City Council by calling at 213-621-CITY. We invite general public comment as well as public comment on items that have been agendized, and that can be done here live and in person, or if you live closer to Van Nuys City Hall, we have remote facilities where you can go to our council chambers there and testify, and via a video link you can be heard here in council chambers and seen on television. Similarly, we meet once a month in Van Nuys City Hall chambers. That is on the first Friday of the month, and if you are closer to downtown, you can always testify here for public comment, and that is something that is also made available remotely to the council chambers in Van Nuys. I want to thank the council members that are here pursuant to council rules on time, and Councilmember Cardenas and Councilmember Gruhl, Councilmember Huizar, Councilmember Labange, Councilmember Padilla, Councilmember Perry. We have Councilmember Zine and Councilmember Weiss excused. Our Trade, Commerce, and Transportation Committee is still meeting with Ms. Hahn and Mr. Rosendahl upstairs. That would leave Mr. Parks, and Mr. Reyes, Mr. Smith, and Mr. Wesson. If you would please join us as soon as possible. We will begin this meeting as soon as we have 3 members. That constitutes a quorum, 10 members, 2/3 of our body, and we will begin the meeting then. Thank you. Thank you again to Council Members Cardenas and Gruhl, Huizar, Labange, Padilla, Perry, and Smith. We now have 8 members. Councilmember Hahn and Rosendahl are still upstairs at our Trade, Commerce, and Transportation Committee. Councilmember Weiss and Zine, they are both out of town. So Councilmember Wesson, Councilmember Reyes, and Councilmember Parks, we are awaiting your presence in City Council to begin our meeting. Thank you.
went any further, but it just feels like normal.
Thank you, Councilmember Parks. So we're just waiting now, Councilmember Reyes or Wesson to come down. Councilmember Reyes or Wesson, and we'll begin the meeting. Thank you. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Cardenas, Gruel, Han, Weezer, Labange, Padilla, Parks, Perry, Reyes, Rosendahl, Smith, Weiss, Wesson, Zine, Garcetti. 10 members present and a quorum, Mr. President.
First order of business, please.
Approval of the minutes.
Mr. Wesson moves, Mr. Smith seconds. If there's no objection, those will be approved.
Commendatory resolutions for approval.
Mr. Wesson moves again, Mr. Smith seconds. If there's no objection, they'll be moved.
Mr. President, on the regular agenda, items noticed for public hearings, items 1 through 7 are street lighting district ordinances. And I believe 12 council members are expected today. Do you wish to hold those on the
Let's
desk?
hold 1 through 7, please. Go to the next items.
Next item would be item number 8, and that's a confirmation of building and safety lien.
Okay. Anybody wishing to be heard on item number 8 from the council? Anybody wishing to call that special? If not, let's open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
10 ayes.
That is approved. Next item, please.
Next item is item number 9, and that is a finding of public convenience or necessity in Council District 15, and the recommendation for council action is to grant the application.
Okay, that requires a motion.
Yes, it does.
Okay, I will move that for Council District 15. If there's no objection, let's open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
10 ayes.
That is approved. Next item, please.
Next item is item number 10. That's also a public hearing item, and the applicant consents to a continuance to October 31st.
Okay, if there's no objection on item 10, we will continue that till the 31st of this month.
And also on item number 11, the applicant consents to a continuance to November 1st.
Okay, is there any objection to that, colleagues? If not, we will continue that as well. Next items?
Next items on the agenda are items for which public hearings have been held, items 12 through 48. Committee report has been submitted on item number 45, and I don't believe I've seen one on it. It's item 45 and 46 both have committee reports.
Okay. Those require motions, or with the reports they don't?
The chair of the committee can make that motion if he wishes.
Okay. And which committee is that again?
That's HCED.
Okay. Mr. Wesson, on items number 45 and 46, Mr. Wesson, would you like to move the committee reports on those? Okay. We will move the committee reports on those. I'll second that. From HCD. Any other specials, colleagues? Items 12 through 48. Any specials? If not, let's open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
Those are approved. If there's no objection, we'll send 12 forthwith, please. Next items.
Next items are items for which public hearings have not been held, items 49 through 76. There are ordinances on 49 through 52. Do you wish to hold those on the desk?
Please, let's hold those on the desk till we have 12 members. Next items.
And then that would leave 53 through 76, and I believe there are cards on 53, 59, and 71, and I believe additional cards have been submitted. I don't have the numbers on
Okay,
those.
we'll call 53, 54, 59, 60, 66, 67.
Excuse me, I'm sorry, Mr. President, on item number 60, I believe there's a request to continue
Oh, that
that
is a
matter
request to continue.
to
Okay.
October 20th.
If there's no objection, we will continue item 60 to the 20th of this month, and we will hold the public hearing then. So we have those called special for cards. Other specials from the council. And again, I'll go through those for the clerk. We've got 53, 54, 59, and 60, 66 and 67, 70 and 71, 74. Those are the ones that are before us for cards. So we have the balance. Colleagues, anybody wishing to call any of those special? Seeing none, let's open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
And those public hearings were opened and closed, of course. We've got then the next items before us.
Next items, Mr. President, are the closed session items. Do you wish to hold those on the desk?
Yes, please, let's hold those on the desk.
Do you wish to take up public comment at this time?
Let's go through public comment at this time. I'd like to invite Zuma Dog forward as our first speaker. We've got quite a few speaker cards, so we will start with 2 minutes, and we'll see how many folks we can get through in accordance with our council rules. Mr. Dog.
Thank you very much. Time for Zuma Dog election special. We have an election coming up in November. First, I'd like to remind you the mayor is out of town. He's in Asia right now, but he does support Phil Angelides. So the mayor wanted me to remind you to vote for Phil Angelides because the mayor supports Phil, and he doesn't want to wait 8 years to be governor. He doesn't mind waiting 8 years to be governor. You know, he doesn't support Schwarzenegger to be governor 4 years earlier. So remember, the mayor says vote yes on Phil Angelides. Now we've got a couple other things that are on the ballot for November. H&R. Those are the two things. You know, H&R Block. You've heard of H&R Puffin stuff. There's two ballot measures you need to look at in November, H and R. Let's hit up H first, and that's the affordable housing bond. Now, the problem with bonds, they all wrap them up in these warm and fuzzy things like clean water, save the environment, help the schools, affordable housing. Problem is that this is very expensive and costly to the city. It's taking money we don't have, and we're going to be paying it off for the next 3 generations. The interest is very high. I heard Tom McClintock on the Doug McIntyre show today on KABC. He says no on these bonds. It's just, I can't even begin to tell you how ridiculous it is. And the money goes unaccounted for. There's no checks and balances on bonds. It magically disappears. It's corporate welfare. Very little of the money goes to where it's supposed to go. And also with this affordable housing, it's very little for the money. I've looked at it. I've checked it out. You get very little for the big $1 billion. And so, you know, the middle class homeowners are getting reamed on these things because what happens is we're building affordable housing. It causes density issues. And the middle-class homeowners end up paying the taxes. It creates more people in the school systems they're not aware of. So Zuma Dog will be voting no on H because I'm no sucker, even though the government thinks you are. Also, Proposition R, term limit extensions. Why the hell would you want to do that? Just take a look. So I say I'm not voting yes on R. I'm voting no on R. Zuma
Our next
Dog.
speaker is Stephen Human. Stephen Human? Excuse me if I mispronounced it. Welcome.
Good morning, council members.
Good morning.
My name is Steve Human. I've come to speak about the ordinance that regulates vending on the Venice Boardwalk as well as the associated permit system. I know a few individuals have come to these meetings to tell you that this ordinance isn't working or that it's causing more problems than it's solved. I'm here to tell you that that is not true. The one thing the entire Boardwalk community agreed on before the ordinance was amended is that illegal commercial vending was rampant, out of control, and hurting everyone. Since the amendment to Section 4215 was passed, illegal commercial vending is largely gone. In addition, the amount of disputes over vending space, which often required police assistance, is drastically reduced. What is out there in place of illegal commercial vending? Artists. In fact, there are a number of artists out there today only because of the ordinance's existence. They could not fight for spaces, they could not compete with illegal commercial vendors, and they could not keep up with an environment of ever-changing rules. But now they're able to set up on the boardwalk free from intimidation and with the peace of mind that comes with knowing they have every right to be there. It's no surprise that the ordinance has been so successful. It was carefully crafted over a long period of time with a great deal of input from the boardwalk community during countless meetings, some moderated by Councilman Rosendahl. In addition, a great deal of research performed by the City Attorney's Office went into crafting it. The ordinance is responsive to the entire boardwalk community, including residents, merchants, artists, entertainers, and free speech advocates. It protects our artists and entertainers by separating free speech from commercial activity in a manner that's withheld constitutional scrutiny in other communities. I'm grateful to the City Council for passing the ordinance, and I want to especially thank Recreation Parks and LAPD. Please don't let a few individuals who only care about doing just exactly what it
Thank
is
you,
they
Mr.
want
Newman.
without regard for how it might affect anyone else.
Thank you. We
Please don't
appreciate your
let-
comments. I'm sorry, Mr. Human. We have a clock there just to make sure it's equal. But we thank you. Daniel Samakawa is our next speaker. And if anybody goes over, you can always give comments to the Sergeant at Arms. We'll make sure we get those.
Oh, hello. My name is Daniel Samico.
Good morning.
I'm a Venice resident for 25 years, and we own restaurants in Venice, James Beach for 10 years, and the Canal Club, and we're about to build a new restaurant on the corner of Speedway in Venice to celebrate the history of Venice. We showcase the last remaining gondola there, and at this moment, Rip Kronk is doing a 40-foot mural about the last 100 years of Venice. I'm here to speak in favor of this ordinance that supports art on the boardwalk. This ordinance allows artists to showcase their art as opposed to having retailers sell goods there. This is in keeping with the spirit of what Venice is all about. We are a community of artists. I'm an artist myself, a graduate of CalArts, and I'm asking this council to support this Venice ordinance for the sake of the Venice community and the spirit that we are putting forth to the rest of the world. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Appreciate your comments. Sky Anderson is our next speaker this morning. After that will be Candido Maris.
I'm Sky Anderson, a resident of Los Angeles. I spoke yesterday about the MTA and how they were oppressing the people by putting advertisements on the TVs on the buses, and the sound was disturbing me and other people, and I have no choice. I have to listen to it. That's discrimination of the highest order. I'm 73. I don't have a lot of money. I have to ride the bus, and yes, I have to listen to advertisement I don't want to listen to. That's the oppression of a government agency. That's discrimination of a government agency. I was here 7 years ago when Venice Beach was ruled by gangsters, and the city council passed a law preventing that because I came up here and protested and other people did. I tried to set up a table, and I was told I couldn't do it, and when I insisted, I was threatened physically by these gangsters. That's oppression. Jan Perry passed a resolution, introduced, and the resolution was passed by the city council saying no new developments could be developed downtown a while back because they wanted to protect the rights of the homeless. So the city council and the city of San Diego, city of Los Angeles protects the right of minorities, protects the right of artists. The whole attraction of Los Angeles all over the world is it attracts artists. You can paint buildings, you can do things. But if I have to sit on a bus and listen to advertisement I don't want to listen to, that's not what Los Angeles is about. It's not about oppression, it's not about discrimination, it's about freedom. The chairman of the MTA is the mayor, and the mayor was deeply involved in the ACLU. He knows the rights of individuals, and I'm going to go talk to his staff right now and see if we can get the discrimination stopped. Thank you for your help.
Thank you. Candido Maris is our next speaker. After that will be Arnold Sachs.
Good morning, Mr. President and council members. Today is the day to return the Department of Water and Power to the people of this great city. Item 27, you will be It's the second consideration of a rate increase of 2.75 for the water for 2 years. My question again, has management done everything it can to reduce the costs, the overhead at DWP? Has it stopped the retaliation that's taken place at DWP? On Friday, you approved an pay increase of $4.7 million that'll cost the taxpayers for management. And to those managers who are doing their job and who are fantastic DWP workers, I say to you, you deserve your pay raise. But for that one small percentage who allows retaliation to continue, I say you don't deserve a dime. Mr. President, council members, I one day look forward to being on the Board of Water and Power Commissioners. When I am, hell's coming with me, because we're going to clean up that department and we're going to return it to the people of this great city.
Thank you, Mr. Morris. Arnold Sachs is our next speaker, and then Barbara Duffy.
Good morning, council members. Thank you.
Good morning.
I just wanted to comment on yesterday's meeting again regarding the contracts for the airport refurbishment that's going to go on at Tom Bradley International Terminal. And again, I'd like to thank Councilwoman Hahn, but she's not here, for asking about the contract, why there was only one bid out. But my main concern was with the contract that went to Parsons Transportation Group to manage the construction. They received $14 million prior to the contract okay from City Council. What were they managing prior to the contract? And how did that bid go out regarding having a management company for a construction contract for the city? And then additionally, what will happen if there's some delays or cost overruns or problem with the work? Will the city go after pursue the contractor or the management company? We have a classic third-party situation again, thanks to the bidding situation. In addition, I'd like to comment on something that Commissioner Rosendahl said, asking for the council's support on these two items. And all I can say to that is just have everybody leave. Since when is a non-vote considered a yes vote? There were several items yesterday that were voted on, 13-0, 13-0, 13-0, but there weren't 13 council members here. How can that possibly be legal? Additionally, when the council meetings are televised, does the audience that's watching these meetings, do they just see the results, or do they actually see that there are not council members sitting in their seats to vote on these items? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Could I ask the city attorney just to clarify on the voting procedures, the yes vote as a point of information, Dion, if you would both talk about presence and voting. Thank you.
Under the council rules, an abstention is the same as a yes vote. And so if a council member is present in council chambers and listening to the audio feed in the back, he is considered to be present in council.
Thank you for that clarification. We have 12 members. Just if we can pause for a second while we have 12 members. Barbara Duffy is actually our next speaker. We can ask her to come forward. But before we do that, we'd like to take up the ordinances now that we have 12 members. That's 1 through 7 and 49 through 52. You can please open the roll on that. Close the roll. Oh, sorry, we got to select them all. And Ms. Hahn is here too while we're doing the vote. And if we can open the roll on those, close the roll and tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
Those are approved. We'll go back to public comment. Welcome, Ms. Duffy. Please.
Good morning. My
morning.
name is Barbara Duffy. I'm a Venice Beach merchant for 27 years. I'm here to speak on the Venice vending ordinance. First, I'd like to thank Councilman Rosenthal and the Police Department and Parks and Rec for doing such a wonderful job in enforcing this. It's working wonderfully for the merchants and also for the artists and entertainers on the west side. We've seen an increase in their participation. We also it's nice for the people who are walking down the boardwalk to be able to actually see the ocean instead of hawkers screaming and yelling at them, selling merchandise on the west side. So very briefly, that's it, and I want to thank everybody for supporting it. It's doing a wonderful job, and we get a lot of compliments from the people who visit from all over the world. Thank you.
Thank you, and I would ask our audience to please be respectful to all speakers, the same respect that we give to one another. Mike Folkert.
Hi, I'm Mike Folkert, Venice Beach Merchants Association. I'm here to speak in favor of the ordinance that's been passed at Venice Beach. We hear that a lot of people have been coming to these meetings saying that the ordinance is not doing any good. That's just for them. It's been a wonderful thing for us, for the merchants, to take Venice Beach from what it had turned into, which is a huge swap meet, back to what it's supposed to be, a place for artists, entertainers, and visitors from all around the world to come and enjoy. We still got to notify the public that Venice is back to what it used to be so that everybody can start coming and enjoying the environment down there. Another positive benefit of the ordinance is it's got the city council to assign meetings every month where the merchants, the property owners, and the people from the community can come to discuss the things that we want to have happen down at Venice Beach, such as maintenance, graffiti removal, tourist attractions, holiday events, and such. So just here to speak in favor of the ordinance and keep it going and keep doing a good job for us. Thanks.
Thank you. Michael Carrion will be our next speaker, and then Santos Saloj after Mr. Carrion.
Yes, my name is Michael Carrion. Mr. President, once again, you didn't start on time. Ms. Gruhl, I'm here to speak to you once more about the parking issues. I was reading the Times yesterday, and you want to give your city employees $138 a month so they don't bring their car to work? But yet, when they get into a city vehicle, they have a green light to park wherever they want. My number's on that card. If you'd like to get a hold of me personally, you can. I will bring this to your attention. I just don't think it's right that you start giving money away to city employees until they learn to act right, until they learn to obey the rules that everybody else has to obey, until you get general services on the ball to cite everyone equally and not start giving them courtesy notices. It's been 6 months. It's been over 2 years that I've been fighting this issue, okay? But you go on the news and you go on the papers.
Excuse me, Mr. Carrion. Under Council Rule 12, all remarks shall be addressed to the council as a whole and not to any single member thereof unless in response to a
Can you hold my
question
time?
from such member.
Okay. So then I'll address it to all of yous. Can all of yous get off your chairs and do something about it? You know, your city employees are the ones that are parking out there. Your city employees are parking in front of fire hydrants. Your city employees are putting this city at risk, and the parking enforcement that also is your city employees choose not to do anything about it. We have tow-away zones. They tow away Bob Smith's car, but they don't tow away the city employee's vehicle that's right in front of it. They don't even cite it. Why? Because that's a fellow brother in the city, or the county, or the state. I work for the county, and it's not fair. If you're going to cite somebody, cite everybody across the board. One more thing on homeless health, homeless care. This is an organization that I used to work for. Street outreach is what you need more of. You need to reach out to the homeless and assist them in the issues that they need to be assisted in. A lot of them are mental issues, a lot of them are financial issues, and a lot of them are just reaching somebody and being able to speak to somebody. Thank you.
Thank you, Santos Saloj. And then next, after that, says Brother Derek. Mr.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Santos Saloj. I am a merchant from Venice Beach. I come here just to support the new ordinance. They do a pretty good job. So thanks very much.
Thank you. Matt Dowd. And then next will be Michael Hunt after that.
Thank you. Wow, it took 6 months to get a delegation down here to say they support the ordinance, and yet there's people coming every meeting for 6 months saying the opposite. But I got a call for Rocky Delgadillo. He really needs to resign just to send a message right now to the city council, because they put him in the untenable situation of acting like they're the city attorneys over his head. Because if he's right about Venice Beach and he's done all the work and made sure that's constitutional, but he hasn't, but you're taking his word that you're not breaking the law by infringing on people's rights, and there may be some. Yet when it comes to Prop R, extending your own term limits, he came right here and said, you're going to end up in court because this is unconstitutional, and you chose to be the city attorney and say no, and our advice is we're going to proceed. So he needs to resign just to send a signal to the public, because you're making him defend that now. You know, like, he ain't a puppy dog. He can go and get a real job out in the private sector or whatever, but who is the city attorney now? The other thing I got a question for every council member too, if there's a medium earthquake like 7.8 in the middle of the night tonight, because you're all talk about emergency awareness, and it happens to be raining, and my roof's leaking because there's cracks in the wall because the structure's damaged, where do I go for shelter at 5 o'clock in the morning? Where does everyone go? Can we get that one out? Thank you.
Michael Hunt is our next speaker, and then Donna Doherty.
Yeah, good morning. I wasn't going to even talk till I see these clowns in here. The 4215 ordinance in a state park with lines. That's in violation of the constitutional rights. Number one, if you didn't want your business to be in a state park, you should really move it, because that's what Venice is. There is no such thing as an ordinance in a state park. That's just like me selling tables at Kenneth Hahns Park or something. The merchants know that what they were against. They don't even want me at the meetings, because you know what, because I'll talk and I'll let them know. But you notice, you don't see any people of color here. You know why? Because they ran all of us off. Just like Harry Perry in 1997, you know, all of the black folks, they try to run off. But when the ordinance was, when he sued them, and they had to bring him back, you know, it's just so funny that they don't want the Rastas, they don't want the black people down there, they don't, you know, they don't want the Muslims down there. Because they hate us. They hate us. You know, look at them. Just look at them. You don't see no prosperous black people down here talking about an ordinance. Because we know what jobs are about. We know it's about community-based policing. Any job is a good job. We've been down there. I've been down there for 25 years. My father's been down there. Artists, selling whatever down there for 25 years. David Hunt. David Pappy Hunt. We brought jobs down there to the community. Skate Town USA, Roller Boogie, over $2.5 million in income for the Venice community. And the things, these folks don't understand what the economy is about. They don't understand what community police is about. Hey, if you know where somebody is from 9 to 6, they're out of trouble. That's called community-based policing. Most of the people was down there making a living, trying to take care of their family. The commercial vending you guys brought in when you guys brought in the permit system. There was no commercial vending before the permit system came down there. Anybody that was supposed to be down there knew what they had to do.
Thank you, Mr. Hunt. Our next speaker is Donna Doherty, and then David Dror will be our last speaker.
Before I begin to speak, may I ask that all of you look at the paper which I asked to be circulated? Does everybody have this paper? You're counting me off on time, please. Can you give me my 2 minutes, please, after you have made sure you have this paper?
If you could please start, we'll make sure that a sergeant at arms gets it. Please continue.
I would have liked the 2 minutes instead of asking you all if you have this piece of paper
We do have it.
in
We do
front
have
of
it,
you,
Ms. Doherty.
because the
We do
pa-
have it. Please continue.
Well, I don't see everybody saying they have it. Excuse me.
Please
This
continue,
piece
Ms.
of
Doherty.
paper, do you have this piece of paper? Thank you. Take a look at it. The bottom part of it, where the map is of the Griffith Observatory, my name is Donna Doherty. I'm with the Griffith Observatory Access Initiative. We've spent 7 years trying to make equal access at the observatory. We don't have it, and I don't care how many times they tell you that they are in compliance, they are not. Councilman Labange was kind enough to arrange a tour for us there on the 27th of September. The first thing we found was that when you enter the Great Hall there, down below in the new part, there is a viewing section, and the, whatever you want to call them, telescopes move. The poles on which they sit are plain poles. There is no way to make them go up or down. We have children who are tiny, who need to look through those when they come from the school system. We have people in wheelchairs who need to look, and they could only see a tiny portion of the sky. And yet a volunteer, not a volunteer, a worker at the observatory said, I read the book, we're in compliance. We're in compliance. They are not in compliance with humanity. You just would normally put in a pole that can be raised or lower so everybody can utilize it. This picture that you see before you came out 2 years ago, and you will notice it circles the front steps, and then it has dotted lines all the way to the back, the one door on the back side of the building. I want to tell you that we were also told that the front 4 doors will now be closed permanently to the public. If you didn't know that, you should be aware of it. And everybody, the 10,000 or more people that are going to be coming there, are going to be funneled through that one door on the back side of the building. This is outrageous.
Thank you, Ms. Doherty. Our next speaker is David Dror. Welcome.
Good morning. I am a property owner, and I have a number of tenants who vend on Venice Beach. For over 20 years, we've been fighting to get this ordinance to have some semblance of decency and control over the vendors. Thanks to our councilmen, we were able to pass it, including the city attorney and so on. It's working. I've spoken to many of the vendors, and they are happy with it. There are a few who are not, but any laws that you passed, any ordinance, you will find people who are unhappy with it. You cannot satisfy everybody. It's working. Please do not change it at this point. The police department is happy with it. Recreation and parks are happy. The vendors, the merchants, everybody. Do not change it because a few people come in and scream and yell over it. There are over 200 vendors on the beach, on the west side of it. How many people come and complain? That's what you have to look. Popular votes, we don't need legislation for. Please stay with it and let it work its way through the system, and everybody will be satisfied with it. I urge you, please do. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That closes the free speech zone known as public comment here in City Council. And if we can run through the agenda now.
First item called special, Mr. President, is item number 53, and that was called special for a card from the public.
Okay. Let's take a few of these up together, if we can. We've got item 53, and if we can also take up item number 71, same time. And Mr. Zuma-Dog, if you'd like to come and speak on those two issues. You have 53 and 71. 1 minute for each, please. So 2 minutes total. Thank you.
Boy, it sounds like these people in Venice with the businesses on the east side are crying now because since they kicked off all the artists, nobody's going to Venice Beach anymore.
Can you please stick to the agenda description?
I'll be glad to, Mr. City Attorney. 53, let me read it. Acceptance of bids relative for the sale of a pipeline franchise. It's taking bids for a pipeline. I like to say that it's kind of a big waste of time to take bids in this city because the city has a short list of preferred contractors who gets everything fast-tracked. So a little diversionary tactic there. And 71, I got to flip all the way through. I'm going to try to be brief. And let's see. Oh, Oh, I would have used all my time for this if I knew this is a special event fee waiver. I've been talking about it relentlessly, and it has been improved. There's a lot less of these things that shouldn't be on here. Dodgers postseason schedule. We got to pay $7,000 for some Dodger party. First of all, they lost, so they should pay for it. But all kidding aside, the LA Dodgers, you know, it's a Fortune 500 company. You say, well, let's give them a break. Let's give the Dodgers a break, you know, 7,000, pick it up at the city. I say, hell no. They get a privilege to do businesses in this town. They're a Fortune 500 company. They make revenue hand over fist. How much money did the Dodgers make this year at our expense? And they want the city to pay for it? I think the LA Dodgers should pull the money out of their own pocket and pay for their own event. It's a privilege to do business in this city. And we got to stop bending over backwards for these people with all the money, because then who gets paid? Then when we need some money, this is $7,000. Then when you got the little old ladies that want to have something, or a church or a school or a youth program, the money's not there because the LA Dodgers, who lost, get all that money. So please, council members, let's keep a very close eye on these special event fee waivers. I've been coming here for 6 months. Make me not have to come here every day anymore. Don't put this money where it's not supposed to. It's supposed to go for nonprofit, community interest things, open to the public. And last I checked, the Dodger Stadium ain't open to the public unless you pay.
On item 53, is there Keith Jackson here? Keith Jackson, Mr. Matt Dowd. And then if you'd like to speak on item 71, Mr. Dowd as well.
Yeah, that's what.
Thank you.
That's what Venice Beach used to be like.
I'm sorry,
when it was
sir, if you can
happening.
make sure that they're talking about both the franchise and the Dodgers special event, please.
Okay,
First one.
thank you. Yeah, just want to comment on these. This is fascinating, and I'm just want to acknowledge Mr. Dog for picking up on these too. Yeah, 53, the notice of sale of a pipeline franchise. It just seems highly unusual to me that they're calling here for bidding for this pipeline franchise for the transportation of crude oil. Yet they name the company here that, you know, there's, oh, but if this company is the highest bidder, then let's give it to them and put their name on there. I mean, why don't we write it up in the sky and say, here, it's yours, just come and take it. But then I go to the next item on the agenda. I did have a card on this, Mr. President. Can you give me another minute for that one, please?
These are the two that you're addressing right now.
Just
those
the
two.
two.
We'll get to
Okay,
other
I'll
ones.
stay on the two. So yeah, it seems a little unusual that you'd mention the name of the company that you're going to hand the contract out to after all the other companies have bidded. You know, but could be wrong. But Mr. City Attorney, how's my time? 30 seconds. Where are we? 71. See, I'm in favor of the Dodgers one. Absolutely. These are like mostly working class, real people who go to the Dodgers Stadium, got behind their team, had their hopes raised, unfortunately dashed in, you know, in a cruel, almost humiliating way. So let's give them a little party and a little something to make up for that. Thank you.
Thank you. If we can open the roll on these two items, please. Close the roll and tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
Thank you. Next, let's take up item number 59, please.
Mr. President, okay, the
59?
54 is still on the desk, too.
Yeah, 59 if we can go to next, please.
And that was called special for...
Augustine O. Is Augustine O here? Welcome to City Council.
Before I begin, can I pass these out?
You have some things you'd like to hand out? We'll make sure the
Yes.
Sergeant at Arms hands those out before.
Oh, I'm going to need to go through the memorandum with you.
Okay. Why don't you begin while that is being passed out? We'll make sure that those are being passed out. If we could ask the city clerk to please begin to pass out those as Mr. O is speaking. Thank you. Please go ahead. We'll make sure we reference it.
Thank you. First of all, this is regarding the nomination of 1415 South Gramercy as a historic cultural monument. I have read over the recommendation report and the nomination report prepared by the Cultural Heritage Commission, and I have found that the argument propounded by the Commission has no merit based on the Administrative Code Section 22.130, which defines a historic cultural monument. If you have the memorandum, you can flip to page 2. The definition is right there in front of you. The Commission tries to use the third and the fourth criteria as the reasons why it should be included. However, if you read the language of the code and pay special attention to the italicized words, distinguishing characteristics, inherently valuable, method of construction, and you go ahead and read through the Commission's report, they don't advance any arguments that will satisfy this administrative code. I'll take you through their argument, if you will. If you flip to Exhibit A, it's the recommendation report. Page 2 of that is their discussion. I'll go a little quickly, I'm running out of time. If you flip to page 9 of their nomination report, it goes to the significance of the ordinance and the criteria. And if you read that very carefully, they do not satisfy the requirements of the Administrative Code, Section 22.130. If you go towards the end, the articles that they use in reliance upon their report are written by a Miss Laura Myers and a Mr. Charles Fisher. Miss Laura Myers is not a published writer. She is basically a member of the Neighborhood Council. Mr. Charles Fisher was involved in preparing this very report. I am not alleging that they might be biased, but those are the sources that they used.
Thank you, sir, and thank you for this. We have the memorandum before us, so we appreciate your comment and the memo. And I'd like to call on the council member from the 10th District, Mr. Wesson.
President and members, and I want to thank you for coming to City Hall, giving your opinion, and I really appreciate all of the thought that has gone into this memorandum, and I understand exactly where you're coming from. Members, sometimes you just can't replace things, and I beg to differ with the young attorney where it relates to this facility, this home meeting the criteria. We had our attorneys at the Plum Committee, and they justified this designation. Just to give you a few quick tidbits, the architect is a guy by the name of Frank Tyler, who already has 6 historic designations for his architecture work in this great city. The builder, and this was built in 1910, in an area that I represent where you see a lot of people rehabbing these old homes and bringing them back to their glory years. The builder was the Outhouse Brothers, and they have 3 or 4 of the houses that they've constructed that have been designated. I think that the Planning and Land Use Committee made the right choice. Again, with all due respect, I would ask the members of this council to support me on this, and I request a unanimous vote.
Thank you very much, Mr. Wesson. Mr. Reyes is our next speaker. I'm sorry, our public comment period is closed. I'm sorry. Mr. Reyes.
Thank you, Mr. Wesson. I did sit as a committee of one on this particular item, but it was very clear to me the evidence presented to the committee reinforced the values and the significance that would indicate that this is a structure that should be preserved. I did go through the document that was presented to us, and again, the way we weighed the various elements that were presented to us brings forth the recommendation, so I stand to support my colleague on this particular matter. An urgent aye vote.
Thank you very much. Anybody else wishing to be heard on this from the council? Please open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
That is approved. Thank you. I'd like to ask item 46 to be reconsidered, and I will pass it over to Ms. Gruhl.
like to vote on the reconsideration. Madam Clerk, open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the votes.
13 ayes.
That item will be reconsidered. I'd like to acknowledge our President, Mr. Garcetti.
Thank you very much, Madam President, and thank you folks for letting me reconsider that, and thank you, Mr. Wesson, for moving this one. I just wanted to call this item special. We've heard a lot about residential activity that's happening in Hollywood. We know that the economic impact, though, of the place of Hollywood in the last decade, that the entertainment industry, for the first time, is a top 10 industry in Los Angeles. Even though Hollywood is synonymous with this town, it actually wasn't even a top 10 industry until the late 90s. We also saw in our LA Economy Project study that the entertainment industry now is the industry that has the most jobs being added at $60,000 or above. So our good-paying jobs, the number one industry is entertainment. Unfortunately, we've seen Los Angeles lose its pole position in many ways in recent years to Burbank and Glendale and other places that were kind of more open for business and more embracing. But I think we're beginning to see that turn. And this item that we're voting on today is a project between the CRA and a private developer to say that in the heart of Hollywood, we actually will build an office building for entertainment clients. There's a number of studios and companies that are lined up wanting to do this and wanting to come to Hollywood. We have been able to forgive 100% of the gross receipts tax for entertainment businesses in Hollywood, and we're really seeing them come back. They say they want to be in Hollywood. They don't want to be stuck in traffic anymore on the west side, often where things had been going to Santa Monica and to other cities, and Glendale and Burbank as well. So it's really wonderful to see that coming here and this being a part of it. A few months ago, quite literally, people were saying there's no way that businesses will want to come to Hollywood. But then this weekend, we saw, or last weekend, in an article in the LA Times that CNN is keeping its headquarters here for the West Coast in Hollywood, that a number of other industry leaders want to come here as well. And in the article that we saw in this business section, I'll hold it up right here, we saw not only CNN coming, but we wanted to also see that this Community Redevelopment Agency is doing a great job in making sure that we're at the forefront of thinking ahead. First it was nightlife, then it was restaurants, then it was residential areas, affordable housing to make sure people aren't pushed out. But now it's jobs, and keeping jobs in Hollywood. After all, the first motion picture, full-length motion picture, was made in Hollywood, and now we'll see a lot of those returning as well. So I appreciate your support, I appreciate your reconsideration of this, and for all those entertainment companies out there, we love you here in Los Angeles. This is a council and a mayor who has embraced the industry, and we look forward to continuing to be able to do these projects that at first wouldn't pencil out without the assistance of the CRA, but because of it will give us millions of dollars, literally more, to our tax coffers than we would have had otherwise. And that is something that we all will be benefited for because of the public services that will come out of that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Garcetti. Mr. Cardenas.
Thank you, Madam President. I just wanted to make sure that people understand this might seem like a mundane issue, but as was pointed out by Councilmember Garcetti, who represents Hollywood, it's really important for people to understand how other cities, other states, other countries are trying to tear away at this infrastructure of business that people here in Los Angeles and Southern California feed their families with. These are very good paying jobs. The average pay in the industry is much higher than most industries. And like Councilmember Garcetti said, it's important for us to note that we should not and cannot take for granted what people assume is going on here. And they're assuming that all pictures are made in Hollywood, that all Hollywood organizations or producers or companies are based in Hollywood. As a matter of fact, not all of them are based in the city of Los Angeles. We have Burbank, we have some in Orange County, we have some in Santa Clarita. That's all nice, but the further they go away from Los Angeles, the further they go away from Hollywood, the worse we all are for it. What I'd like to ask people to do today is just, in the next 24 hours, when you talk to a friend or a family member or what have you, ask them if they themselves or if they know somebody who's actually connected to having a job in the movie industry. And I can guarantee you that in that period of time, you will not find anyone who doesn't know somebody or they themselves are connected to the movie industry. So it's really important that we understand that the subject matter today is $5.5 million. But the real matter is the long-term job stability and economics of Hollywood, of Los Angeles, and of the region. So I just wanted to take a moment to thank Eric Garcetti for thinking about the moment and also recognizing that we need to do good things today, make decisions today, popular or unpopular, to make sure that we do what's right for tomorrow. So thank you, Eric Garcetti, for doing this. This is kind of like a sleeper. Nobody was paying attention, but I just wanted to make sure that people understand that this is an important issue. So thank you for doing this.
Thank you, Mr. Cardenas. Mr. Labange.
Thank you very much. I just wanted to thank you, Mr. Garcetti, again, in partnership as a adjacent council member in the Hollywood area. Jobs are extremely important. 250,000 Angelinos and Southern California folks are involved with the entertainment community, and I think it's important to help strive for that. And I will tell you, as a young deputy, John Ferraro, and when Mr. Carter spoke about good paying jobs, I remember when I was John's deputy working area off of Melrose, I'd run into retired Keystone cops and old grips who actually were able to afford to live in Los Angeles because they worked in the studios. And now they have to live way, way out of the city. I think this is a way to help encourage a small part of the opportunity, one, to be part of what we call as the great Hollywood dream and the great Hollywood community. Thank you all, Mr. Cardenas, Mr. Garcetti. Back to you, Ms. President. Madam President.
Thank you, Mr. Labange. Madam Clerk, the item is now before us. Open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the votes.
13 ayes.
That item is approved. Congratulations, Mr. Garcetti. Next item, Madam Clerk.
Next item, Madam President, item number 54 also had cards from the public.
Yes, Mr. Matt Dowd.
Yes, thank you. Check 2, 1, 2. Yeah, we covered this a little, the pipeline franchise. First of all, I just want to give a hooty-hoo to all the attorneys at the back waiting for the closed session. I know it's a long day, but there they all are. They'll be up in a minute. City of Los Angeles, notice of sale for a pipeline franchise. And here's another one. Cardinal Pipeline, you know, if they're the highest bidder, then let's award the franchise to them. Why do we have to say that for? Why don't you just say bid for it? We don't need to tell you, name you, and say, if you're the bidder, we'll give it to you, unless these are the two that you really want, and then we got to question the ethics of why they have to be named, but let's just go ahead, run this one through like the other one, unanimous.
Thank you. That item is now before us. Madam Clerk, open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the votes.
13 ayes.
Thank you. Next item.
Item 66, call special for cards from the public.
Mr. Dowd.
Okay, my dog and ponies begin. Yeah, I got to cut down my hours when I can make it into City Hall, so I got to pack in all my dog and ponies on the one day. I want a special hi to Mr. L.A., Tom Labange. Dude, I want to see you up in this chair. That's the next thing. I'm pushing for that. You're the kind of mayor this town needs, not one who's trying to run the school district from the other side of the world. Anyway, Rosendahl, Zine. Unfortunately, Mr. Zine's not here too, but Bill, there's a nice little dog and pony for $6,700. I'm all in favor of this one. Let's spend some city money. It's one of my new campaign things now is spend city money, and this is a good one. Unanimous, everybody. Let's help these people have a great party. Thank you.
That item is now before us. Madam Clerk, open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the votes.
13 ayes.
Next item.
Item 67, call special for cards from the public.
Mr. Matt Dowd.
I might as well stay up here. Okay, the Caribbean Festival and Parade. They used to have a really nice incense down on Venice Beach called Caribbean Breeze. That was an African-American guy, but now there's a new ordinance out that affects majority African-Americans, so that's why it's been referred to as the Nigger Act on occasion. But we're not going to go there anymore. This is a good one. Another one, Bill, that puts you up for $20,000 on the dog and ponies. Let's give this one a unanimous yes and kick it through.
Ms. Sylvia Lynn Hawkins.
Hey, where'd she come from?
Good morning, everyone. My name is Ms. Sylvia Hawkins. To state on the issue concerning number 67, I will explain later why I am back. Again, we need more money in the public people's pocket concerning entertainment, whether it's the Caribbeans or musicals or at the convention center, concerning our public people enjoying entertainment during Hardcore 8 or any war that is going on. Again, we must continue to party. We must continue to remain order. It doesn't matter who at war, whether it's USA versus Iraq or Iran. We still must have entertainment. At least 2 to 3 events where we must give money back to a public people.
Thank you very much, Ms. Hawkins. That item is now before us. Madam Clerk, open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the votes.
13 ayes.
Thank you. Next item,
Item 70, call special for cards from the public.
Mr. Dowd.
Wow, what a bamboozle. See, goes round, comes around. Now you just got to figure out how to get rid of me. I was trying to earn some money down on Venice Beach just to pay for my ear.
This item it has to do with the 7th annual Stony Brook Halloween block party.
Where's that voice coming from?
Is that because you had...
Okay, let's get back onto the dog and pony. October 29, Halloween. So I want to check the effectiveness of Channel 35 because that's my birthday on that weekend as well. And I just want everyone to email me, matt2000dowd@yahoo.com. Even just send me a couple of dollars. And I'm starting a fund to return to my sister city, Auckland. And but this is a great little dog and pony for Wise and Zine, who aren't even here. But let's punch this one through.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, open the roll on this item, close the roll, tabulate the votes.
13 ayes.
Item's been approved. Next item,
Item 74, call special for cards from the public.
Mr. Dowd.
The Alive and Running 5-10K run. See, I find this fascinating because it sounds like me. Alive and running. From the police, when I'm homeless downtown, I'm running. So this is a good way to get fit. The 5 and 10K run, Mr. City Attorney, thank you. It's a great one from Rosendahl and Smith. This is all about fitness, sponsored by the Didi Hirsch Community Mental Health Center. So this is a great item. I might even go and sign up with it, except it's already been held, and I think I just missed it. So we should punch this one through because that sounds like another good dog and pony. Congratulations, Mr. Smith. You're doing a good job.
Madam Clerk, that item is now before us. Open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the votes.
13 ayes.
That item's been approved. Next item.
Next item, Madam President, there are 2 special motions that have been distributed to the council.
Did we consider
members.
item 77? I do have a card on item 77.
77 is a closed session, so
Okay.
council can have the, consider
Yes.
or hear the
When we do
public
that
speakers.
first, Mr. Dowd, if you'd like to comment on item number 77.
Yeah, this isn't a futile comment either. I've actually got a point now for this one. And not that I didn't have points before, but this one really is a good one. This one says recess to closed session pursuant to the legalese, all the city attorney legal people here, to confer with its legal counsel. But I just want to bring up the point that I'd like to hear the discussion out in public and just have the conference, but it always happens, you come out of closed session and just go, okay, well, this is $350,000 to Hunt and Dowd or whatever it might be, you know? Whereas I'd like to hear you know, not just the amount, but who was saying what, and you know what sides you're on, because I think that's important. We want to know, and I know Mr. Smith found the no button last week on the closed session, so that's great. I saw him doing good work in his vacation. He was promoting his district.
Thank you very much, Mr. Dowd. Yes, we have two, before we go into closed session, we have two Rule 23s. Before we do that, though, on item number 59, I know Mr. Parks would like to reconsider item 59. Mr. Parks?
October 10th calendar is an item that deals with a waiver of a fee. We'd like to have that go to committee so that we can bring the policy forward before we deal with a variety of developmental fees that's in committee. Talk to the maker of the motion and he concurs, so we'd like to just move that to Budget and Finance.
I'm sorry, that was on yesterday's council agenda?
Yes, on October 10th.
Do you know which item number was it?
It's number 59.
59? Oh.
First, we'll have that reconsidered. The first vote will be for reconsideration. Madam Clerk, open the roll for reconsideration, close the roll, tabulate the votes. Tabulate the votes. Oh, sorry.
We're saving you money, Jan.
Sorry about that.
Yeah.
13 ayes.
Thank you. And Mr. Parks, your recommendation is?
To move it to Budget and Finance, and we'll bring it back after the council approves the developmental fee policy.
Okay. Unless there's any disagreement, it will be returned to Budget and Finance. Madam Clerk, our item, Rule 23s.
First one is by Councilmember Parks for Councilmember Hahn, and it's seconded by Councilmember Garcetti, and the findings will be spoken to by the city attorney.
Thank you. Mr. Attorney, you want to speak to the findings?
We got a closed session item I gotta talk about.
On Rule 23?
Do our best to get through that one. Get on before election.
Thank you, Madam President. I'll recite the facts as presented to me by the maker of the motion for the council's consideration of the adequacy of the findings. Since the posting of today's agenda, it has been confirmed that the City Council most likely will not meet on Friday due to the expected lack of a quorum. Immediate action is required to allow council to decide whether to approve or disapprove the LAWA J.C. Deco concession agreement before council loses jurisdiction after October 13th. Council must first make findings pursuant to Government Code Section 54954.2 before considering the substantive motion.
Thank you. Our committee responsibilities from a couple members on the National League of Cities preclude us from having a full quorum on Friday, so we will not be meeting this Friday, colleagues, and we will meet next on Tuesday. That's why we have the special before us right now. Let's open the roll on the findings. Please close the roll and tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
Okay, that is before us, and now I'd like to recognize Ms. Hahn.
Thank you, Mr. President. Also the acting mayor of the city of Los Angeles. Yeah, forthwith to the mayor is like right there. Colleagues, we're doing this obviously as a Rule 23, as was stated, because it sounds like there won't be a council meeting on Friday. But I thought this was important enough to actually bring to our attention. It would have gone into effect anyway, because the deadline to act is Friday. But I thought this was such a large contract and such an important contract that we were awarding today to J.C. Deco that I thought it was right and proper that we brought it to the council. You know, we've never had advertising in LAX, and so as a part of our whole remodeling efforts, and we're having a whole new concession contract being awarded, and we're remodeling Tibbet. We actually are getting into the new millennium at LAX, and one of those things is to award I believe it's a 6-year contract with 1 4-year extension to J.C. Deco, who is one of the leaders in airport advertising internationally and certainly across this country. There was 2 bidders, Clear Channel and J.C. Deco, and I held it in committee a couple of weeks because I had heard some concerns. We wanted to make sure that this contract clearly would have the best revenue rate of return, obviously, to LAWA, since it's the first time we've ever done it. But I was also concerned that this contractor really represented, besides just the bottom line, I wanted to make sure they represented the sense of Los Angeles, the flavor of Los Angeles, and making sure that they had women and minority subcontractors. And I was rewarded for my hesitation and my digging into things by a full onslaught of graphs and charts and color photos, particularly about the subcontractors with JCDecaux. And not only do they represent certainly women and minorities, but more importantly, I was impressed that their subcontractors have been given the opportunity to be equity partners with JCDecaux. So they're not just a sub getting a part of the job to make JCDecaux look good, but JCDecaux has actually brought them into being equity partners, and I think that's what we really want. I think that really reflects of really who we want to be in the city of Los Angeles. So after reviewing it, after reading all the memos from Patty Tubert and others, I was convinced that the process was fair, it was right, and I like the mix of what we've ended up with in JCDecaux. I think it's really our time to shine at LAX. I think we're, with our remodeling of Tibbet, with our new concessions contract, and certainly with the first time ever of advertising, our airport is going to be really the world-class airport that I think we've all expected it to be. So with that, I would urge you to support this. If you have any questions about this contract or this contractor, JCDecaux, I'm sure there's people here that can answer you, but I will tell you from my point of view, I have read everything, looked at everything, and feel very comfortable that, in fact, first time out on this groundbreaking contract, this is the right way for us to go.
Thank you very much, Ms. Hahn. Our next speaker is Mr. Rosendahl.
And thank you, Madam Chair, for your leadership on this issue. We went through an exhaustive process of this, and we actually took it back to continue it for a couple of weeks to do more understanding of the issue. And colleagues, this is a great deal. It's a great contract. It's good for the city. Minority partners do exist. They each have 7.5% equity play in the project, so it's viable and genuine, not even window dressing that, happens a lot. It's a real deal with real local participation in it. We're looking forward to the revenue stream that this will give our great city. And I want to thank, JCDecaux Airport Incorporated for putting it together, and especially the leadership of my chair in moving this forward on a Rule 23. And I ask us for unanimous support, Mr. President. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Rosendahl. Any other members from the council wishing to be heard? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
That is approved. Forthwith to the mayor. And before we go to the next special, I'd like to recognize Ed Reyes for introduction of some special guests.
Thank you, Council President. Colleagues, today we have the honor of recognizing the Salvadorian American Leadership and Education Fund leadership, SALEF. With us from Berendo, we have several parents. Please stand. They are from the area of Pico Union. They are the Citizens Committee. They have been working very hard as volunteers in developing leadership and stimulating the type of interest amongst parents and looking at the betterment of their community. I want to thank Carlos Ardón for his participation and his support. And again, bienvenidos aquí en el edificio municipal. Ojalá puedan aprender más de cómo manejamos los asuntos aquí y seguir adelante en mejorando nuestra comunidad. Muchas gracias por estando aquí. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Huizar.
Thank you, and thank you very much, Councilmember Reyes. When I was on the school board, had the pleasure of working with many parents at Berendo, and they were an active group. And I want to welcome them here and thank them for all the work they've done to better our children's education and our community. Les quería decirles y darles las bienvenidas. Muchísimas gracias por todo lo que hacen. Yo me recuerdo cuando estaba en la mesa directiva de las escuelas, ustedes siempre están muy activas y por eso tenemos una mejor comunidad y mejor oportunidades para nuestros niños. Muchísimas gracias y bienvenidos. Gracias.
Thank you very much. Muchísimas gracias y bienvenidos también. Next, if we can go to the next special item before us.
And that's special two, and that's introduced by Councilmember Reyes, seconded by Council President Garcetti.
Okay, Mr. City Attorney on the findings.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'll recite the facts as presented to me by the maker of the motion for the council's consideration of the adequacy of the findings. Since the posting of today's agenda has been confirmed that City Council will not meet on Friday due to the expected lack of a quorum. The last day for council action on this item is October 13th, according to council staff. Immediate action is required for council to act on this before the deadline. Council must first make findings pursuant to Government Code Section 54954.2 before considering the substantive motion, and this concerns a Prop 50 grant application.
Thank you. Do you want to be heard on the findings, Mr. Reyes, or are you on the substance? Okay. Let's open the roll on the findings then, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
That is before us. Mr. Reyes.
Yes, thank you again, Council President. Colleagues, this is the Prop 50 grant application process. The department is submitting requests for funding for the Alley River Parkway, specifically the West Valley Phase 1 area, the North Atwater Park River Vista expansion, and the Franklin Canyon Creek Park. Again, these are very real projects, very real, tangible experiences that our communities can have in seeing the transformation of the river. Prop 50 will play a big role. And again, we are at the embryonic stages, but these are the steps we need to achieve in order for us to fulfill our dream the next 10 to 15 years in creating a riverway that's good, healthy, and recreational for everyone. So I urge and I vote.
Thank you very much, Mr. Reyes, and thank you for shepherding this process through consistently with Proposition 50. It's been very important for our city. Anybody else wishing to be heard on this application? If not, let's please open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
That is approved.
Mr. President, do you wish to clear the desk before going into closed session?
Sure, let's go ahead and clear the desk before we go into closed session.
Council has motions for posting and referral.
Those are posted and referred.
The excuses on the desk, Councilmember Parks requests to be excused Tuesday, October 25th, and Wednesday, the 24th and 25th, and a motion is required on the 25th.
All right, I will move that. Mr. Padilla will second. If there's no objection, those will be granted.
And Councilmember Gruhl requests to be excused to arrive at 11 a.m. on Wednesday, October 18th. For city business, a motion is required.
I'll move that. Ms. Perry will second. If there's no objection, that excuse is granted.
And that clears the desk for closed session.
Okay, that finishes our open session for now. We will go into closed session in accordance with California state law to consider legal matters before the city. We will come back into open session with any items that need to be voted on, and we will announce those publicly before finishing the meeting. Thank you all. If we could. Welcome back to open session. We have considered some items in closed session, some legal matters before the city, and I'd like to ask the clerk to walk us through with the city attorney any of the open session actions or announcements we need to make.
The first item before council is item number 77, and that settlement in the case of John Hernandez versus City of Los Angeles Fire Department et al. And the settlement amount is $220,000, and the city attorney has an additional report.
Okay.
And in addition, the fire department will pay $104,256.45 in bridging the plaintiff's service pension status.
All righty. Let's open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
That is approved. Next item, please.
Next item, Mr. President, is item number 78, and that settlement in the case of Wendy Tanaka Baker versus City of Los Angeles. It's a workers' comp case. The total amount of settlement is $116,725, and that's payable at $230 per week, plus a life pension thereafter of $73.44.
All righty. If anybody wishes to be heard on that, seeing none, let's open the roll on the settlement, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
That is approved. Next item, please.
Next item before council is item number 81, and that's settlement in the case of Henry Yuan versus City of LA et al., and the amount of the settlement is $125,000.
Okay, nobody wishes to be heard on that. Let's open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
That is approved.
And that clears the desk, Mr. President.
All right, colleagues, the desk is cleared. Again, announcement, we will not be in session on this Friday, do some National League of Cities obligations that folks have, so we'll next be in session on Tuesday. That is the 17th of October. We will be doing public presentations here on Friday, so folks who have guests who are coming here for public presentations, we will be doing that, and Channel 35 will be televising that, so we invite folks to come down for those presentations as well. One other announcement, at 4 p.m. on Friday, Mr. Reyes and I will be welcoming Echo Park Farmers Market. We have our first Farmers Market in Echo Park. It'll be just south of Sunset Boulevard on Echo Park Avenue in the city-owned parking lot, and we invite members from throughout Los Angeles, as well as members of the Echo Park community, to come join us for that Farmers Market. Mr. Rosendahl?
Our colleague, bon voyage and good journey to Japan. He's going to be looking in Nagoya and other places at educational systems, and we look forward to his safe return to the Horseshoe.
Absolutely. Mr. Labange?
Yeah, I would second Mr. Rosenthal's comments and say hello to all our friends in our sister city of Nagoya, our oldest sister city.
Thank you. What's our second oldest?
My hand's up.
What? No, what's your second oldest, I said?
The second oldest is the next one.
Okay, Mr. Labange.
I think it's Elad Israel.
And the newest one is the latest?
Is
All right.
Lebanon. Beirut, Lebanon. You
All
got
right.
me, Mr. Garcetti.
Other now. I pulled a Labange. Yeah, Mr. Weezar, and then back to Mr. Labange.
Mr. Rosenthal, Mr. Labange, and I look forward to meeting with our friends over at Nagoya who visited us not too long ago. They were just here about 3 weeks or a month ago, so I look forward to visiting with them and continuing the cultural exchanges and making sure we promote our sister city status that we have.
Great.
Look forward to it.
Thank you. Safe travels. Other announcements, Mr. Labange?
Oh, I just wanted to say, unfortunately, Saturday night I had a little party over my house, and somebody came through the neighborhood, and 43 cars were vandalized with a baseball bat. And I moved on my wife's car and to give a guest a space in front of our home on the Hillside Home, and their car got it. And the police are investigating in the Franklin Hills, Silver Lake, Los Feliz area. It's a very horrible vandalism, and I hope we don't see it repeated in there. No, it wasn't John Marshall alumni, Mr. Parks. It was St. John Vianney's alumni.
We can either confirm or deny those rumors, Mr. Parks.
Right.
Other announcements?
But the police department did respond. Unfortunately, I didn't even call them, but they were in the community in Northeast and worked on it in air support. But it's unfortunate that vandalism takes place. So I want you all to, if there's this type of activity, I think we should address it in a higher form if it's duplicated in other areas of the city.
Thank you, Mr. Labange. Other announcements, colleagues? This weekend also, colleagues, Melrose Hill, one of our historic neighborhoods and HPOZs in the 13th Council District, will be celebrating its centennial, 100 years of Melrose Hill. The block party will be from 5 o'clock until 8 o'clock in the evening. We invite folks to come out for that. We also will be this weekend from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. having the Virgil Middle School Community Fair on Vermont and Second, the wonderful Virgil Middle School, which brings thousands of members of the community out for services for the community. A lot of city agencies and school district folks will be there, so we invite folks to come to that. And lastly, I know Mr. Labange and Mr. Weezar, Mr. Reyes, and I welcome everybody to come to the Northeast Police Station Open House, which will be on from 10 to 2 this Saturday as well. And we invite members. It's one of the best attended open house and community fairs of any police department in the police division in the city. So we welcome you there. Mr. Parks?
I'd like to announce that Essewan bookstore that historically for years it's been on La Brea is having a reopening in Leimert Park at 12 noon on Saturday, October the 14th. And also at 1:30, Leimert Park Plaza will have a dedication in which it will be given a historical designation as the plaza. So those are two events in Leimert Park, 12 o'clock grand opening of Essewan bookstore and 1:30 the designation of the plaza.
Thank you. Any other announcements, colleagues? Mr. Labange?
Before, if there's, do you have any adjournment motions? Anybody here? I just wanted to make one, I got a note I just wanted to share with all of us. This is from Mary Frances Reynolds, who's a teacher at Ivanhoe School. Dear Tom, my heartfelt thanks on behalf of my whole family for the tribute paid by the City Council for adjourning in memory of my father on the 12th of September. This was a very moving gesture. We are grateful for the certificates that you and your colleagues sent commemorating this honor. These are keepsakes and will be treasured for my family forever, and it goes on, and just an appreciation of how we stand and adjourn in memory. Her father was very involved in community affairs in San Diego and involved with Balboa Park improvement, and I just wanted to share with all my colleagues how important when we stand and adjourn and how it's touching to those families who we recognize. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you for pointing that out, Mr. Labange. I'll never forget, and I'm sure, Mr. Reyes, in your trips to El Salvador, you probably went to the same museum where the nuns had been murdered. And in the museum there are 3 adjourning motions from this Los Angeles City Council that are prominently displayed. And whether it's that or I was cleaning out my grandmother's remains after she passed away, thought of her stuff and found a adjourning motion of my grandfather as well. So these are things that families and members of the public and the entire world takes very seriously. So we thank everybody for their attention during our adjourning motions and making them. So that brings us to adjourning motions. If I can ask everybody in council chambers to please rise. And starting with Mr. Labange, and then Mr. Parks.
Members, I ask we adjourn for Lucy Sterling Boone, a very influential community leader, a real estate entrepreneur who quietly passed away on September 30th in the Miracle Mile section of Los Angeles. Some of you may be familiar with her work on national, state, and local levels. Appointed by President Reagan, Ms. Boone served as a representative to the Department of Housing and Urban Development National Home Advisory Council, as well as appointees to the Board of Cultural Affairs, Cultural Heritage at the time by then-Mayor Tom Bradley. She was also recognized for a Good Hearts Award in the Salute to America campaign. So please ask we adjourn in Lucy Sterling Boone.
Second, Mr. Wesson and Ms. Hahn.
We did it all members. We did it yesterday. You may want to just make it for all members.
Okay.
Let's make that all members then.
Thank you, Mr. Parks.
Mr. Parks.
I'd like to ask us to adjourn in memory, and many of us remember Bobby Adams for 20 years, not Bobby, but Bobby Adams, 20 years a security for Mayor Bradley. His brother passed away. And so Bobby just visited me the other day. Bobby lives in Tennessee now, but his brother Donald Adams was born November 1941 in Los Angeles. He attended John C. Fremont High School, LA Trade Tech. He enlisted in the U.S. military as a member of the Navy. He was discharged due to a medical. He returned to Los Angeles and married and raised a family in Los Angeles. But he passed away on Saturday, September 9th. And when Bobby visited me recently, he just caught me up on this, and I told him we'd do this in his honor.
Thank you very much, and we will.
Yeah.
Okay, we will second that. Ms. Perry and Ms. Gruhl, did you want to be on that as well? Okay. Mr. Reyes.
Thank you, Council President. I'd like to adjourn in memory of Sally Mae Jones, a longtime client of St. Barnabas Senior Center of Los Angeles. She passed away last week, just short of her 107th birthday. Wow. Sally Mae Jones was born October 8th, 1899, on a farm outside of Selma, Alabama, and was raised by her grandparents. She attributed her long life and wrinkle-free skin, of which she was very proud of, to sleeping good, eating good, and never missing the 10 o'clock news. I got to meet her in '04, and meeting her, she sat there with the cake right in front of her, and she had so much energy, the life in her eyes and her optimism, just smiling and shaking one's hands. You would never think at that time she was 105. Sally married at 15, moved to Pensacola, Florida, then to San Diego with her husband, Robert Charles Jones, a first lieutenant in the U.S. Navy during World War I, whom she met in Selma. Sally's husband passed away in 1938 from influenza. Sally never remarried because she and her husband, well, that was the love of her life. Sally resided in an apartment in the MacArthur Park area where she received support from St. Barnabas Senior Center for 20 years. Beginning with the 100th birthday, St. Barnabas hosted a birthday party for Sally each year. It was one of those birthday celebrations where I first met Sally. Her mental quickness, going nature, keen sense of humor, and friendliness made her a great favorite among the seniors and staff alike at the St. Barnabas Senior Center. May she rest in peace.
Thank you very much, Mr. Reyes. Mr. Wesson.
Thank you, Mr. President and members. Today, I want to adjourn in the memory of Lehman Adams, who moved to California from Texarkana, Texas, back in 1946. He spent most of his adult life as a set decorator for the motion picture industry. He then retired and became a very successful entrepreneur in the construction trade. He was a community activist. I only had an opportunity to meet him on one occasion at a community meeting, and I was just so glad he gave me a laundry list of things to do. And we were able to do that in like 2 weeks. So I went back, and he knew that we did what he wanted us to do. So he's remembered by a host of family, but again, Lehman Adams II. And lastly, Mr. President, I noticed how quickly you noticed me today because I'm not being blocked by Mr. Zine.
Yeah, the big man's in China, and we can see Mr. Wesson crystal clear. Colleagues, I regret to inform you we've just been given the news that in New York City a small plane has flown into a high-rise apartment building. It's not known whether it's an accident or whether or not it was intentional, but that just happened, and we were just informed of the news. There are fire trucks on the scene in New York City, 72nd and York Avenue on the Upper East Side, but wanted to let you know that as well. We'll next meet on Tuesday, as I mentioned, here in Council Chambers on the 17th of October. Madam Clerk, please call the roll. This meeting is adjourned. Have a great weekend.